Hello, everyone. My name is Political Toadette 2006. It's been a couple of days, but I'm going to go ahead and, give you uh, the what I see as what is the state of the midterms. We are 1 week away. It is 9:27. Well, it's a little bit later than that now, but I just refreshed this page probably about 10 minutes ago, and these are the current updates on currently 538. So what is 538 telling us about the Senate, the House, also the governors too? I've pulled up all these other YAP-MS maps, yet another political map simulator for those who are curious. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you what is 538 telling us to see if this has been a Republican, if is this going to be a red wave, is it going to be a red kind of trickle? Are the Democrats going to do really well? Um, we honestly aren't really sure entirely quite yet. There seems to be ideas, though. We will start in the House because we have the most races here. So Republicans have been favored in the House for a while. Um, it looked like the Democrats kind of got a lot of momentum in the summer, but it looks like they've peaked too early, and it looks like Republicans are starting to eat into those advantages. So in the House of Representatives, you have 435 House seats. They're up every 2 years. And if you get 218 victories, you control the House. Right now, the Democrats are at 222 and the Republicans 213. There's a couple of vacancies around here, but primarily this is the number we're working with. The Republicans basically only have to flip 5, and they're looking like they could win some of them. If I go down here, this is how they've changed. So this was back on June 1st. The Republicans had a very, very good chance. They got as high as, they were at 88. They had about a 7/8 chance, but it got down to about here to only about a 7 in 10 chance, but it's risen right back up, which has come thanks to just the normal trend of midterms. Midterms usually go against the incumbent party. Usually there's a couple exceptions like 2002 or 1998, but in almost every midterm since 2006, the party not in power has done well. So there's 196 safe here. I can pull it up here. So this is the current projection of the House map based on 538. As you see, solid blue and solid red for Democrats, Republicans. Some of them are lightly shaded, the likely blue or likely red, lean, and then they have 13 toss-up races that I put in the tilt red or tilt blue category to show for some of these races. So what are we looking at the close ones right now? Well, according to this, the closest one is Virginia's 2nd Congressional District. That race is, if I could just fix this real quick. So that is down here. This is this one right here. This is kind of, I believe this is kind of Virginia Beach down here in the southeast corner, borders North Carolina to the south. And this is 50-50. This was more favored to go towards Republicans. It's been kind of nip and tuck ever since. They're showing dead even. And so we don't quite know yet what's going to happen here, but this is an interesting one to look at. If we go back to the national map, what other ones are extremely close? You've got Texas 34, Nevada 1. I want to focus on this one. This is Nevada's 1st district. Now, I've lived most of my life in the state of Nevada. I don't live there now, but this was very interesting when I pulled this up today. Dina Titus currently holds the 1st congressional district, and that is over on this side of the country. It's this one right here. And she had been leading by a pretty good margin for most of this time. And then this poll just dropped by Emerson College, which is a A- rated poll. It had Robertson, Titus's opponent, Mark Robinson, up by 12 points. Now it's a toss-up race according to these odds. This popular vote spread it's about dead even. And this was a race that I didn't think was super competitive, but I'm always curious to see what goes on with Nevada, being that it's one of the closest states. The fact that I used to live there, I always am looking to see what's going on in the Silver State. They got a lot of close races too. We'll get to in a sec. But Nevada's first district, perhaps this lead for Titus has evaporated, and we've got a close one. Perhaps we don't quite know yet. We'll have to see. We know Texas 34 is a close one. You also have Alaska's at-large district. This, of course, is for those who don't know. It was Peltola, the Democrat. She won. Mary Peltola won a special election in, I believe it was the summer. I might be wrong on that, but a few months ago she won a special election in what was kind of a primary vote system over Sarah Palin, might remember her, and Nick Begich, I believe it is. And so what this is you have to get 50%, and Peltola has the best chance to win. If I just go back, if you hover here, a 49 in 100 chance. The problem is Palin and Begich combined is 51. So that's a problem because Peltola she's gonna get more votes than both Palin and Begich, but can she get over 50% to win Alaska's at-large district? Which of course, Alaska being a state with not many people, is the entire state for that district. Couple of these ones down here, couple down here in Texas are close. Got this one in California close, leaning red. This one in Iowa is a Democratic-held seat. Republicans are looking to, that one was a target of theirs to flip. This race in Oregon, a new district formed. Republicans are looking pretty good there too at the moment. Interestingly enough, Rhode Island, 2nd Congressional District. Let's go there for a minute and pull this one up. So Seth Magaziner and Alan Fung. I believe Alan Fung ran for governor a couple times but lost. And so this one's been close, but it's been leaning ever so slightly blue. It's been about even. Fung was up in some polling, though, to make it seem like it would be close. It probably will still be pretty close, but it's looking like that one is still leaning blue. That would be interesting because you can see there's almost no at all states or districts going for the Republicans up here. Also, the urban-rural divide. It looks like there'd be more Republican victories, and while there technically are, it's closer than that because, I mean, look at, this is Chicago right here. Look at all the districts in Chicago for the Democrats to potentially get a ton of easy victories. Look down here in New York City and northern New Jersey. And so the urban-rural divide, you know, I kind of didn't realize how big of a deal it was until I started paying attention a lot closer throughout the last couple months, these House races, and wow, it is stark. I mean, all of Eastern California, nice and red, but down here, it's nice and blue for the Democrats. This is Los Angeles. You go up, of course, to San Francisco, and so it's very close there. Yeah, so at this point, Republicans are definitely favored in the House. They're looking like they could flip a handful of states. I believe Wisconsin 3 was a Democratic seat. Looks like that one's going to flip. Pennsylvania 7 this one's very close, could change. We'll see about that one, but it was favoring the Republicans. New Mexico 2, I believe, also was a Democratic-held seat, but is going to change hands. I could check that real quick. Where's New Mexico? There it is. That would be, I believe that would be a flip. So yeah, the House forecast, at this point, Republicans are favored, still a week to go, but you got to say the odds are looking pretty good if you are a member of the Grand Ole Party. Let's move to governors now. Governors to me are interesting for a handful of reasons here. This is 538's map here. I could probably just make it more specific. So, unlike the House and Senate, there's no like, you know, oh, this party wins control over a chamber, because these are really local elections, not really national races. 14 solid Republican states, according to 538. You got some interesting ones in here, and I can pull them up on my map here. So, okay, you got a lot of red states. Iowa, popular Republican governor Kim Reynolds. Mike DeWine in Ohio, popular Republican. Even Vermont, which is a a deep blue state. I mean, Bernie Sanders is a senator there. I think that's all I need to say. They got a Republican incumbent who's popular. Popular Chris Sununu in New Hampshire. And how about this one? Texas and Florida. Texas, of course, this is Greg Abbott, who is the governor here. And he's looking like he's going to win over Beto O'Rourke. And O'Rourke may have name recognition, but It does not look very good for him at this moment. It looks like Greg Abbott is comfortable. Also, Florida, where Ron DeSantis, he's a polarizing figure for sure, but at least at this moment, the people of Florida really like him. And Charlie Crist, who was former Republican governor, switched parties, has been a very large critic. He, I think, was a major. He did this during the Bush administration, I think, or at least switched parties kind of when the Tea Party Republican movement happened in 2010. But DeSantis looks like he's going to comfortably win that. That's the Senate map. Whoops. But most of these other states you kind of expect: South Carolina, Alabama. Same for the Democrats: California and Hawaii, Colorado, most of these. Now, Pennsylvania, solid blue. Why is this the case? Well, in Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro is clearly favored to win. Apparently, Doug Mastriano, this could have been close, but Mastriano has not been the greatest candidate out there, and so Shapiro is going to win this governor race handily. The question is, will it be enough to influence other national races in Pennsylvania? We don't entirely know yet. Similarly, another close state in the 2020 election, Michigan. Gretchen Whitmer against Tudor Dixon. Dixon, I believe, is a Trump-backed candidate. This race has been somewhat close, but the belief for a while has been that Whitmer would win. We'll have to see if this one also... There's no Senate race in Michigan, but House races, we'll see if that makes an impact. Minnesota is a close one. New Mexico. There had been questions for a while. I think people were thinking that Ronchetti would beat Michelle Lujan Grisham, but it looks like this one's still favored to go to the Democrats. We're not quite sure yet. So, a lot of good pollsters have been checking this race, and it looks like it's been a mix of either a very narrow Ronchetti lead or I don't want to say comfortable, but decent lead for Lujan Grisham at the moment. Georgia, remember, Stacey Abrams, Brian Kemp. It's a rematch, but it looks like, unlike 4 years ago, Kemp is going to win this handily. It looks like all these pollsters, he's up by 5 to 10 points. So Brian Kemp looks like he is going to avoid. He's going to win that race to the dismay probably of some of the more Trump-backed Republicans, because there was the alleged controversy going on about that. But Kemp, he's favored to win. Georgians like him. Oklahoma's an interesting one. Joy Hoffmeister, Republican who switched parties, against Kevin Stitt. And Stitt, it's interesting. This race somewhat changed a little bit because I think because of Joy Hoffmeister's comment about how there's more violence in Oklahoma than there is in New York, which got a lot of attention from people at the debate, which kind of upped her chances a little bit. This is still looking pretty good for Stitt. You see A- pollster here a few days ago, Stitt by 10, so he probably is still going to win. I don't think there's really a huge doubt, but there were people thinking it could be interesting. Alaska is kind of a similar situation. All the races are kind of these primary systems where there might be runoffs between candidates if no one gets to 50%. But let's talk about Arizona for a minute. Carrie Lake, Katie Hobbs. It seemed like Carrie Lake was down for a while, but she took the lead midway through October and is starting to expand it, it looks like. All these polls have Lake leading, not by much, but she is leading. And this is interesting to think about. Could this impact Arizona's Senate race, which we'll get to in a minute? You have Kansas, Laura Kelly, a Democrat. The Democratic governor of Kansas. Yes, deep red Kansas has a Democratic governor against Derek Schmidt. You wonder if I believe it was sometime in the early fall when the Kansas had its vote on abortion and it went 60-40 in favor of keeping the abortion laws in that state. And so could that help Laura Kelly get victory? It's going to be really close there, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens in that one. Wisconsin is a close governor race. Talk about a state that's been close for a long time in the presidential level. Evers and Tim Michaels, might be Mickles actually. This one has gotten close for a while. Evers looked pretty good for a while, but it started to get really, really close here. See some polls here have Mickles up by just a couple points. So Evers beat Scott Walker 4 years ago. We'll see if he wins again. You have Nevada, as I mentioned, Steve Sisolak. I was still living in Nevada when Sisolak beat Adam Laxalt for the governorship to replace Brian Sandoval against Joe Lombardo, former sheriff. This has also been one where Lombardo has kind of taken the lead in the last week or so. And this one's going to be close as well. A+ pollster here. Lombardo up +4. So I've been thinking Lombardo. I didn't think he was going to win, but my mind has kind of slightly changed. And Oregon, this is the one right here. The most interesting governor race. It's a three-way battle between Christine Drazen, Tina Kotek, and Betsy Johnson. Betsy Johnson was a Democrat, switched parties to become an independent, and it's a three-way battle. I don't believe the Republicans have won a governor race in Oregon in 40 years. This would be a big deal if the Republicans could flip this seat, because they were not, I mean, this is crazy. Oregon's a deep blue state, isn't it? Well, governors are a different story sometimes. Most recent major poll from Trafalgar Group, Drazen +1. This could be very interesting to see what happens in Oregon. To see a blue, when you look at this map, you got a red state like Kansas with a Democratic governor at the moment, and potentially still will, while Republican governor in Vermont, and maybe one in Oregon. We'll have to see. Finally, let's talk about the Senate. The Senate looked to be in favor of the Democrats a couple weeks ago, but all of a sudden, it's completely switched. Completely switched now. Republicans are the slight favorite. It's a dead heat for the Senate. This is the new Senate map. Here, as you see, normal states you're looking at. Republicans are favored in a lot of these. You think about some of these. Iowa's an interesting one. Chuck Grassley was some people thought maybe Grassley could lose because of his age or something, but I think it's too little too late there. I think in Florida, Marco Rubio, Val Demings. Demings was said to have a good debate performance against Marco Rubio, but that looks like another one where it might be too little too late for the Democrats to get a chance there, especially potentially Ron DeSantis' coattails could get Marco Rubio in. You have, let's see, where else we go? North Carolina. This race has been kind of under the radar, but Bud has been leading all the way against Sherry Beasley, and this one got somewhat close a couple months ago, but as we've kind of seen in a lot of these races, the Republicans have been starting to get back their mojo a little bit. Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes, Ron Johnson. Johnson decided, all right, I'll run for re-election for a third term. It got close a couple months ago, but Johnson has slowly eked out, and he's been leading by a few points in pollsters, so we'll have to see what happens. Let's see, where else can we go? Ohio, another state that's gotten somewhat close between J.D. Vance and Tim Ryan, but I think Tim Ryan may have peaked too early, and I just don't know. Ohio went to Trump both times by 8 points, I think, or around that range. It's looking pretty good for Vance at the moment, I would say there. Colorado, no real surprise. Bennett leading. New Hampshire, this is a race that has changed recently. Maggie Hassan, the Democrat, against Donald Bolduc. And the Republicans basically pulled out of New Hampshire and said, we're not going to get involved in this race. But recent polls are showing Bolduc is close. So this has moved into the lean Democratic column when it was likely for a while. This Washington race puzzles me how this is a likely seat. But clearly, maybe ever so slightly, perhaps Tiffany Smiley wins, possibly? We don't know. I mean, Murray's only been leading by just a couple points. Patty Murray's been around for a while, too. She might have come in the year of the woman, perhaps, in 1992. Maybe earlier than that. I have to look and see. What else do we have close? Arizona, just talked about Kari Lake in the governor race. Mark Kelly, on the other hand, the Democrat, is favored to win over Blake Masters, who has been criticized for not being a great candidate, although this race has also gotten closer in the last few days. Mark Kelly, of course, former astronaut. What else are we looking at? Well, Pennsylvania. Oh, I clicked Maryland instead. Let's go back. Let's go to the Keystone State. So John Fetterman has had a lead for a while against Mehmet Oz, Dr. Oz. However, it's slightly changed up, though. Fetterman, the Fetterman-Oz debate wasn't very good, and so we'll have to see what happens. Polls are kind of all over the place here to determine what's going to happen, but this one's going to be close and could very well determine the Senate. Remember, if Oz wins, this is not a Republican pickup, it's a Republican hold, because Pat Toomey is the incumbent who is retiring, and he's a Republican. You also have Nevada. Adam Laxalt, slowly but surely, is eking out a bit of a lead over Catherine Cortez Masto. He's been leading at some recent polls here. Emerson College just had one where he was up by 5. Laxalt, Nevada, I kind of just assumed that Nevada was kind of leaning blue because of the influx of Californians moving in, but I don't think so at this point. I think Nevada is still a pure toss-up state. And let's see, any other races I want to touch on before I get to the last one I was going to do? All right, last but not least, Georgia. Another one, this is a 50% rule, of course. If you don't get 50%, it goes to a runoff. Herschel Walker, Raphael Warnock. Walker's had tons of scandals happen in the last few weeks. But now he currently is slightly ahead in the betting odds. At least 53% chance to win. Now, an A-plus poll had Warnock up by 3 a few days ago. And we'll have to see, because in this popular vote, the independent candidate has 1.6%. The others aren't over 50. We might be waiting a long time on Georgia's race. We'll have to see. And so, what is the deal here? Well, the Senate has slowly shifted in favor of the Republicans, and the House seems to be expanding back to what it was originally. Do the Republicans have an edge? The answer is a simple yes. We'll see what happens in the last week, but in the next coming days, probably around the weekend or so, I'm going to be posting my final predictions for the Senate, House, and governors, and we'll have to see how it goes in the next few days, but I'll make those predictions for you guys, and if you like this video, you can leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoy it. I might make some new campaign trail scenarios too, so just be on the lookout for future videos. All right, have an awesome day. Bye, everyone.